Enjoy the show!
Expend4bles.
So I got to say, I've followed your career. I can tell that you're a big action guy. What was it like for you directing, I guess, a team of all-stars in Expend4bles 4?
Yeah, sometimes once in a lifetime opportunity, you know, I kind of pick them off, usually one or two at a time in a movie, and then have them all in there at once was pretty exciting, you know, and I got to accomplish and check a lot of boxes in one movie, so it was awesome.
Was the idea always to make this more of a Lee Christmas kind of solo film? Well, not even necessarily a solo film, but focus specifically on Jason Statham's character to kind of relaunch him as potentially the new lead for the franchise?
You know, I don't look. It's the narrative that drives the focus, right? So the narrative on this story being a revenge and redemption story usually comes from one character, and so this one just happens to be Christmas. And I think the idea of passing the franchise off from Sly to Jason, so I think naturally fit within that structure, and it facilitates what's needed in the story. And I still think you get, as much as it leans on the Christmas, you know, and his character, the other characters are still very there, and still you have a good time with all of them.
What was it like bringing in kind of people that weren't necessarily, you know, as much veterans of the action franchise? Because I mean, you had Statham, you had Tony Jaa, you had Iko Uwais, you had all these amazing pros, but then you also had kind of newer people like Megan Fox, who I've seen in a few action movies, but not on this level, and then Andy Garcia. What was it like mixing them in to the fray? Because I thought that was kind of fresh, bringing these people that you wouldn't necessarily expect in a big action movie into the film.
You know, I think the cool part about having, you know, Megan is exactly that. Is, you know, look, we most know her from Transformers, right? But realistically, you know, look at her body of career of work. You know, she's done a lot, and she's definitely had her handful of her own action movies. So she's well versed with military. She's well versed with guns, and she knows how to fight and kick. And so she fit extremely quickly into the band of men, and can hold her own really quickly. And he comes from Godfather. I mean, he's been around, kind of one of the pioneers of action, right? So they naturally, in their own way, had their own kind of action backgrounds to begin with, and to put them in there, I think, was just kind of a cool way to freshen it up and bring some legend and newcomers together.
I like Statham's movies a lot, but one thing that does frustrate me sometimes is that his opponents don't always land blows on him. And what I really liked about Expend4bles 4 is that when he's fighting Iko Uwais, you know, he gets the shit kicked out of him to a certain extent, right? Like, it's a real fight where they're both kind of landing blows on each other, and it makes it, I think, a lot more exciting than any fights than he's done in quite a long time. I was just wondering if you could talk about staging that big sequence.
So I think you're on point with that message. And I feel like with that fight, for myself, when I brought the Hong Kong fight team in to design all the fights in the movie, I was really like, you know, this needs to be, the audience is going to be excited to see Jason fight Iko. Like, these two are awesome fighters, period. So it needs to be, and Iko's a badass. So it's got to go back and forth. This fight each guy's got to keep getting their licks in, and it's got to have a little bit more Rocky tone rather than one man just whipping ass on everybody. Right? And so, you know, yes, that was new for Jason, but Jason was totally, fully respectful of Iko, and really, you know, knows how badass Iko is, and I think really wanted to give Iko his moments too. So that really gave it a nice parade back and forth with the characters, and something that's fresh for Christmas.
Was it always intended to make this R-rated? Because the third film took a lot of flack for being PG-13, and I know that fans were hoping that it would, because I mean, these classic movies that they're kind of carrying the torch for, those are all R-rated films.
100%. Like, that was one of my first questions I asked when they asked me to come on to direct. It was, are we adherent to this PG-13, or do we get to go back to doing it the real style and making it R? And they were like, 100% R. And I was like, roger that, I'm on then.
My mind is full of these brutal fantasies. Fantasies. I want and I'll become a hellish reality. That's a great idea.
What was it like for you recently? Because you'd worked with Jackie Chan and John Cena on Hidden Target, and that movie kind of disappeared for a while, but then it showed up on Netflix kind of randomly and was a massive hit over the summer. Just like was suddenly their #1 trending movie for a couple weeks. What was that like for you? Because I feel like it kind of came out of nowhere, and then people discovered it and really enjoyed it.
Oh, I tell you what, it was really exciting. That was a movie I've been working on for 6 years, and it got caught up in the pandemic. And we were on the tail end of finishing, and the pandemic hit, and as we all know, wiped out the world and put my movie on the shelf. And it was so depressing, thinking I had spent a year in China shooting this movie and I was proud of it, and no one was ever going to see it. And then somehow in the last year, they took it off the shelf and they said, can you be a part to help finish it? And we finished the visual effects, and it came out on Netflix, and it was exciting because they didn't really promote the movie. They just put it out there, and to have the audience discover it and fall in love with it was, oh man, as a filmmaker, that's the only thing you could really aspire for, is people just to enjoy and smile at the films you make.
If they were to do another Expendables, do you think Jackie Chan would ever be part of it? They've been teeing it up for a long time that he could potentially one day be in an Expendables movie, and I think a lot of us would love to see it.
Look, I think anything's possible, and I know Jackie is a huge Sly fan. Sly has such reverence for Jackie as well. I think if the stars align in their schedules, which is always so freaking complicated, I would really hope that we can make that happen. That'd be fantastic.
One thing I have to ask you, I'd be lax if I didn't ask it. As a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, I was excited to see that you guys are supposed to be doing a movie together, and I was just wondering if you could tell me anything about that, because I'm dying to see Schwarzenegger return to like hardcore action.
Look, right now we're down, right, because of the strike.
Yeah.
So hopefully, depending on obviously how long our strike goes, we'll actually get back to making that movie and finishing it. So, but yeah, I think Breakout's going to be a really cool movie for Arnold, and it's really going to get back to, real hard Arnold. It's not much comedy in it at all, and it's him still whipping ass at 75. So I'm super excited on that movie too. Again, another big hero to work with. So hopefully my stars align again when the strike ends.
One last question. It does feel like Arnold and Sly, being guys in their late 70s, really are kind of making us all rethink what aging really is, right? I mean, back in the day, you wouldn't necessarily see an action star closing in on 80, but now it's kind of becoming almost routine because you have Harrison Ford doing it. What do you think of that? Because these guys, it seems like they've been able to keep up with their kind of regimes and physical fitness really well, because they both look terrific.
I think it's a testament to the style of men that we have now and that we had then. And there's a reason that these men, being Sly and Arnold, right? Even you go back to Bruce Willis and all of these old school Harrison Ford type actors, they're just man's man, right? And it's like, I remember my father was going to die and he was 80 years old. I was still scared of him. And I think I could have whipped his ass, but I was still scared of him. Right? And I feel we're the same way with these legends. They're still badass. We know, I don't think I'd want to fight him. He's 78, but I still think he'd kick my ass.
It's the presence and the legend.
It is, man. It's all of it. It's like John Wayne.
Yeah.
John Wayne, and just his presence was impressive.
Well, it's funny because the new action stars, you can't see somebody doing an impression of like Chris Pine, right? But you can easily do an impression of somebody like Stallone or Schwarzenegger. That's how iconic they are.
Yeah, I know. I mean, how many people do we have you can just throw out a first name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to see the new Arnold or the new Sly. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Okay.